Hello everyone, welcome back to Xucaboa 100% Vanilla Baby. This is the season finale, so it's going to be the most epic video of the entire year. This will be very fast paced, so don't be afraid to adjust the playback speed to slow it down if you need to. Let's jump right into where we left off, the 500-year anniversary of the city. That's right, 31 March 2021 is when this city started, and now it is exactly 500 years later. Let's commemorate this historic occasion with a quick new project right here with this roundabout. I've confirmed all segments are completely symmetrical, so now let's work in some lane mathematics. At the top of the roundabout, I want to add these two separate entry-exit points, just like this. And in the center, we'll draw a street almost all the way across so we can lay a street down right here. We're going to need this so we can put down a big asset, the Arc de Triomphe. Looking down on these tiny street nubs, you clearly see the arch is centered in the roundabout. Now, we'll gently curve a one-way street between these two nodes. At 157 degrees, we find our center point on those two upper triangles, so let's connect some avenue segments here. This one we could tie into the avenue going this way. And the other we'll leave for now for future development with this gravel path. Now let's name our arch, the Quincentennial Arch. That means 500-year anniversary if you didn't know. Et voila! We have a splendid anniversary commemoration in the city. Here on this avenue, I'd like to add a content creator pack high-rise office building. Taking a quick look from afar, I think this is a very nice addition to the city skyline. And I want to put this here as a special building called the Skyline 6 Collaboration HQ. Skyline 6 is a vanilla collab project I'm doing with a bunch of great creators. I've already finished my first episode, and my second one will be coming out in a few weeks, so keep an eye out and hit the notification bell. On this side of the roundabout, I've grown a specific IT cluster 4x4 office building. We'll take a quick look again to see how it looks in the skyline. It really is a very nice building. I like how the inner curve almost matches the curve of the roundabout. This special building will be named the City of Friends Discord HQ. City of Friends is my Discord server I share with the other Skyline 6 builders and where you can hang out anytime you want. It's super chill and a lot of fun. The link is in the description, of course. I hope to see you there. Now I'm going to set up for a quick detailing fade. Alright, take a look at this place. I've added a lot of different trees, for sure. But here are two double-decker bus stops that will bring tourists here from around the city. Because of the curve of the road, I could get a fountain in by the arch as well. Over at the skyscrapers, I've done some simple plaza-style detailing. And with the walking paths going around the buildings, it almost looks like whiskers on a Xuca the cat head. What do you think? Originally, I was going to develop this area, but with the new Plazas Promenades expansion DLC coming out, I thought that it will make sense to do it in the next season. There is still a lot of open land here to work with, and I think these new DLCs will give us a lot to do when I return. So instead of developing there, let's look at this area of the map. A long time ago, I had drawn an anchor on this little island because I thought it was a great natural harbor to create a seaport at. Already around the city, I've tried to make use of the natural features to create maritime infrastructure, like here at Isla Isaura, or over here by the Milkshake Refinery. Highest Harbor area right here. In the Big Q57 Inlet, we have Sunset Beach on the east side and the old industrial waterfront in the Fish Market District on the west side. Very early in the city's history, we created the Canal District. Now, it is true that in Sector Gulf on this side of the map, we haven't built anything yet. But I think we can work with this anchor area for today's project. Now, the reason this is the season finale is because I'm a merchant mariner, and I will be returning to sea for a few months working in some kind of commercial ship sailing around the world. So, for this finale, I'd like to add a container ship port. To get access to this area, we're going to have to modify the Maddox Teardrop interchange. But first, let's place some bridges. I'm going to cover up this ferry here so I know for sure that the air draft of the ferry will clear the new bridges. I'll have to unpause for a moment because the water is still inside the land that I moved and the bridges haven't figured that out quite yet. I'll try to center the span directly over the ferry channel buoys, and we'll put a second truss across using the node guidelines. Now let's do a quick check for smoothness. Sometimes you think they come out even and they don't. But this looks good to me. Now, let's remove the Maddox Teardrop interchange, which we put in the city in Season 1 on 16 August 2021. 13 months this interchange has served the city unchanged, but now we need to upgrade it. Let's clear out the roads and do a little bit of terrain work so we can get up to our new bridges. Let's extend this avenue out this way, and now we'll set up for a new teardrop on this slope. We'll start as a standard circular roundabout. We can connect both of the one-way bridges to the roundabout just like this. Now we can do the on and off ramps to get connected as well. We can now make the teardrop angles in the roundabout, which makes sense for the flow of traffic. I'd prefer that these bridge ramps have safety rails, so we'll just quickly remake them as elevated segments. Now, at the other side of the interchange, we'll add another roundabout to make this a dogbone interchange. This roundabout will stay circular, so it will kind of look like a potbelly on our screaming teardrop head. And the bridge ramps kind of look like a hat, I think. It still has that anthropomorphized look to it, I think. It can get a little bit tricky putting a roundabout on a slope, even if it's a slight slope, so I have to play around with the terrain just a little bit to make sure it's smooth. Oops, had a new traffic light that I needed to turn off. Now let's set up for a fade into the future where I've replaced all the special trees, bushes, and vegetation props that are unique to this section of the map and its oil-textured terrain. I just did some super simple detailing in the roundabouts. No need to make it very fancy, I don't think. Let me know what you think of that though in the comments. Should I have done something a little bit more elaborate? Over here you see there is some slight bumpiness in the road, and that's because of the node on a slope. Without node controller mod, that is an unavoidable problem that can happen when building networks in vanilla gameplay. So we'll just live with it. It doesn't have to be good, it has to be good enough. The ferries are passing clear under the bridges, very nice. Now, let's get back to ship stuff. No, not that ship stuff. Ay, caramba. We'll go back to our two little islands and begin creating the port of Xucaboa. I'll just create a bit of a slope down from the bridges towards sea level on the second island. The roads I'm putting in here are temporary, and you'll see why that is very soon. So I'm going to first build up an artificial seawall here to help control some of the inevitable flooding that happens when I start doing fill work in the sea. You can see with the water info tab the movement of the water, and so we'll check that occasionally just to see how things are doing. We'll fill little bit by little bit so as not to create too much flooding. Looks like it's okay over here by Isla Isaura. And it looks like here there's a water source point below sea level and it's sucking up the water, which is interesting. A little bit of the flooding got over to the flamingos, but it's already gone, so I think we'll be in good shape. Okay, so now we need to take a look at the actual shipping lines. In vanilla gameplay, ships need to reach the cargo harbor assets by a tangential line directly to the shipping route that comes in the map. Ships are incapable of making any turns except that 90-degree turn from sea towards the port. Really, it's an extraordinarily stupid game mechanic, but vanilla problems require vanilla solutions. Now, this drives me crazy when the waterfront asset raises up the terrain with it. Luckily, if we place a little segment of gravel road and attach it to that road, it will come out flat the way we want. Let's extend a tiny segment of road out so we can add a second container dock right next to this one. This will take a little bit of trial and error to get it to line up right, but it should be perfectly flush against the other asset. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Now, let's connect up our temporary roads and some water and power to these docks and turn them on. The reason this needs to be done is so that we can see exactly where the ships come in and out. Then, we can finally adjust the boundaries of the fill. We should set the camera here so we will see clearly when the ships move. Okay, a ship is leaving the inner container dock. Let's look at where it goes. Alright, we can extend the land out here to create a bit of a seawall, and it won't interfere with the ship as long as we keep it on that line. Alright, now ships are making the turn to come into port. It looks like they're all headed to the outer container dock. Whoa, look at how the ship kicks its stern out here. We want to prevent massive stern scraping, so let's just pull the land back a bit. Of course, they completely wreck their sterns against the container dock as they leave. Does nobody know how to drive a ship in this city? Ay, caramba. Let's delete this temporary road and power plant. We don't need them anymore. We can finish shaping the outside of the port fill area now. I'll just do a quick fade so we don't have to watch the water settle and grass grow back as I'm doing this. Now let's get ready to put in a few basic key walls. We want this port to have proper mooring areas alongside, so we'll place them as closely as we can to the container dock corners. Let's do a quick check to make sure everything is level and smooth. So, this is the start of the port of Xucaboa. And I think it kind of looks like a hand, you know? Like when a hand is grabbing something. And that something here is the water in the port. It's definitely not a thumbs down. If you're enjoying this video so far, give it a thumbs up to let other people see that it's an epic season finale. I've got a problem though. I can't continue work on the port now without heading over to the other side of the map. And the reason why may surprise you. This is West Canal, which was one of the first high-density districts I'd made in the 100% Vanilla Baby back in episode 14 on 8 May 2021. I love this little neighborhood. It's so small, but really one of my favorite places in the entire city. Here is the mini memorial garden for the tornado of 2030, back when I had disasters turned on. It was a real tragic day in the 100% Vanilla Baby, back in episode number 8, but we don't have to worry about that anymore. Over here, I hadn't detailed these corners for some reason. I don't remember why, so we'll add some detailing to this side, and then we'll add an underground metro station to the other side. Yeah, that's right, a metro station. Now, the nearest station is over here by Farmington, the Battle Cattle Danage Metro. If we look at the terrain, we see that there are plenty of hills around here through which a tunnel could run smoothly. Even though it isn't necessary, I take pride in the smoothness of my tunnels. They have to make sense or else I won't be happy. So let's do a simple run across the map here to connect these two metro stations. Back in West Canal, we'll clear out some of the forest that runs along this road going to the Ponte do Construtor. Let's rig up a metro tunnel entrance now. We don't want it to slope down below the water level. It should go up just a little bit. Now that looks smooth. This tunnel will go right underneath the Women Power Detective Agency, this very special office building where two VIPs in this city have their HQ. Okay, to cross the river, let's prepare the submarine terrain to get our pillars on an even foundation. Then we'll run a metro truss bridge right alongside the Ponte do Construtor. Have to unpause again to let the water settle. There we go. Looks good. Now, I don't like the angle of incline here, so let's extend the elevated segments further out for a smoother slope on both bridges. There is a surprising reason why this bridge is critical for finishing our port of Xucaboa on the other side of the map, so I hope you stick around to find out. It all comes down to these mysterious floating bushes. The old, tiny bushes in vanilla literally float above the ground. There are hundreds here, so instead of deleting them individually, I found out that by using airport zoning, it will remove every one of them while it flattens the terrain. Voila! They are gonzo. I noticed a little glitch with the game while practicing this. If I place down an airport terminal, it doesn't unlock the airport even though it should. So after consulting with my man Spuds in Discord, we figured out that if I erase the airport zone I put down and then place a terminal, it will unlock it. I don't know why that happened, but this was the fix for it if it ever happens to you. So while we place down this airport terminal, I figured we might as well make an airport. I mean, that is the latest DLC, right? We'll do yet another roundabout entrance here. I am doing a lot of roundabouts today, huh? It's really not like me. From the roundabout, we can run an upper and a lower loop for arrivals and departures. I'm not too worried about these looking exactly right, because the airport will expand very soon as we upgrade. Let's get our runway in place now. Looking at the terrain, I think a landing approach from the mountain pass will be great, and that will make the takeoff area go over the water in case of an emergency situation. We'll place down all the airport goodies to get it ready to work and have an attractiveness that will level it up very quickly. Also, since this is pretty far away from the city, we can start out with a simple bus route to the central hub in Balcón. We don't yet have a metro station installed at the airport, so buses will have to suffice for the moment. We'll just connect our utilities and then get ready to begin growing our airport. Alright, level 2. Now we have some new stuff, so let's get to work putting it in. I want to switch out the main terminal entrance for this one. It has a metro station inside, but I think it just looks a little more interesting. We can now reconnect our arrival and departure loops a little bit nicer. Let's place down planes, hangars, and other things to increase the attractiveness and expand the airport over in this direction. I'm hoping with the new DLC that Surface Painter becomes a vanilla tool. There were some rumors about that after seeing the videos by Colossal Order, but I'm not holding my breath. If we do get Surface Painter, that will make a lot of the airport a little bit easier to detail and decorate with the concrete. We'll put this aviation fuel area by the old compass rose that I drew in the very first episode and then transferred over to this corner. And now we can add the actual airport metro station. I'd much rather use this than the underground built into the terminal because it looks way more gangster this way. And by gangster, I mean cool, if that isn't obvious. Let's reconnect our Red Line metro stops to these new extensions, so that way we can get this airport reopened for business. And now since the metro is connected to Balcón, we can move the airport shuttle buses from Balcón to the Melissa Intercity Bus Terminal in Xucaboa Center. There were no metro connections over here because it was the very first section of the city built in Episode 1. Okay, level 3. Awesome. We got some new goodies, and among them is the airline headquarters building. With this building, we can create our own airline and adjust ticket prices according to demand. Let's put the HQ over here in Balcón by our new Skyline 6 HQ. We'll have it so it points right to the Captain Obvious Discord HQ. Captain Obvious's Discord is actually called Obvious Airlines, and Colossal Order must have had him in mind when designing the few custom airline logos that come with the game. Take a look at this. The similarity is striking, don't you think? But we will choose the palm tree logo because this is Roslyn Peninsula, and we'll call our airlines #Roslyn Crew, because that's how we roll, OP. Let me now show you a vanilla technique I don't think I've ever seen anyone really take advantage of. Unfortunately, most builders are confined to the mindset that flat earth is the best way to build in the game. For me, I say no to flat earth and build in the terrain as often as I can. Since airport zoning levels terrain, it's tempting to keep everything flat, but I'm going to put the terrain back after it flattens to do a little something up here on this hill. Let's add a tiny roundabout here. Because why not? And that will just serve as the decorative entrance to this luxury airport hotel, which can only be built in an airport zone. I think having it up on this hill across from the Felipe G National Forest will be one of the most stunning locations in the entire city. Now I'm going to start doing some decorative cliff work around this basin at the foot of the waterfall. By playing around with the terrain after I place the rocks, I can get exactly the right look that I'm going for. The large rock assets can be a bit awkward, but like the small flat ones that I've done in the past, if you overlap them, they can come out looking pretty cool. We'll create a stony shoreline under the cliffs and it will look natural and great. Now, I don't like this area here so close to the runway with all the hangars and planes, but before I change that, let me add some parking. Instead of growing parking lots, I'm just going to make underground parking using a simple tunnel and road system here. Ay, caramba, look at these little bushes. I'm gonna start changing this corner and do a fade into the future where the airport is complete. Here we go, our airport is complete. I cleaned up that corner so it made some more sense and added lots of detailing all over the place. Over here I put more aviation fuel tanks. And using some trees, I wrote Xucaboa in the traffic loops here. In the roundabout, I have transferred the old compass rose using a decorative floral design. Right here, I've added a park path with some restrooms so that people can walk and bike up to the luxury hotel. There are some tennis court amenities, a bouldering site, and a scenic overlook deck above the waterfall. In order to get people moving over this way to see it, I extended the Felipe G National Forest park boundaries across the river. Lots of natural detailing along the waterfront. And over here by the aviation fuel tanks, I've added a small pipeline and dock so that we can imagine fuel barges are brought here to offload the product directly into the tanks. Waterways are one of the most important ways to move bulk resources, and so let's imagine that vessels might travel from the milkshake refinery all the way over here to deliver aviation fuel to the airport. Taking a quick look at the city treasury graph, we see that our airport has been a massively successful investment. One of the most impressive short-term gains we've ever had in the entire city, thanks to Roslyn Crew Airlines. And that concludes the season. Wait a second. Ay, caramba! I almost forgot to finish the port of Xucaboa. That was why we did this whole video, right? So, the real reason I extended the metro tracks to build an airport was so that I could unlock this airport cargo road. I wanted to add a segment of that here because it looks cool. Honestly, that's the entire reason I built the airport. It does look cool, right? Okay, I'd like to place a fire helo depot right at the end of our seawall here. This will be our second fire helo depot in the city. On this other side of the port, I'd like to add our first monument building. I unlocked the monuments during the Great Cheese, where I unlocked all the tiles last year. The monument I want to place is the Ultimate Recycling Center, which is probably the most realistic looking of the monument buildings. I'll place it so it lines up exactly at the edge of the water, and next to it I'll place a sand storage to look like some bulk aggregate material that might go in a ship. I think having a glass plant here for recycling would also look cool, so I'll extend the Brain Gamer Glass and Metal Company area over to this spot here. Usually I like to leave the areas connected so that I can keep track of them, but here I'll clear it out. Now we can place a glass plant. Near the recycling center, I'd like to add the Lemonade Factory building, which I think will be a realistic looking addition to our port facility. Behind that, we'll put a large silo, and to get it at the water's edge, we'll have to do some creative road work. This silo will, at least in our imaginations, receive bulk agricultural product from freighter ships. Now, at the very end of this seawall, we'll put another airport road. At the end of the road, let's put the weather radar building, which is as close as we'll ever get to having a lighthouse without using custom assets, unless this new DLC gives us something better. You can see how this cape is the promontory of the coast, so having an aid to navigation here is really important for ships. On this edge of the port, let's set up our port authority. We'll use the road maintenance depot, a firehouse, and a large police station that overlook the basin. Over by the Hilo depot, we can add an oil storage hut for some variety. And over here by the Port Authority, we'll add our toll booth, which will help control the flow of industrial traffic going into our container area. Now we can connect the roadway back to our 2 truss bridges from earlier. Going over this creek, the roads got really janky, so we'll have to figure out a way to smooth them out. I'll just pump out the water here with a water pump, and do it that way. But now our pillars aren't aligned. By adding nodes, we can create pillars in a way that makes sense and will allow small boat traffic to go underneath unimpeded. Okay, now on the back side of this island, let's begin building a shipyard. A protected body of water like this is a great spot to have a large graving dock, which is what this type of dry dock is called. We'll make a road over here where we will put warehouse yards for each of our 4 materials needed to build ships in the game: plastic, metal, glass, and plain timber. Next to them, we can add an ore area maintenance depot because it looks cool. Across from the shipyard, we can put some ore industry barracks for the shipyard workers. I've worked in many yards around the world, and there is almost always a worker area like that. And right here, we'll add the Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion Plant. The floating barge kind of looks appropriate back here, and this building will address our looming energy crisis. By unpausing for a moment, our energy situation is updated. Let's rig up some power lines to the mainland. We'll add our water pipes to the port and set up a road connection for this side. I'm not too worried about having an intersection like this at the moment. It should work fine. Now with the Ocean Energy and Recycling Center, we can start removing old recycling areas and power stations around the city. Now, if something has a name, I won't delete it, like the David A. Power Station here. But these geothermals were temporary, so we can get rid of them. And these wind turbines never made sense because they should be on top of the mountain, which we can't access. So we can adios those too. This one geothermal plant is named for Andy S., but the other is unnamed, so let's say goodbye. Over in Xucaboa, we can get rid of the recycling buildings. Okay, I think that sorts out everything. With all of this industry we placed on, we're going to get a serious imbalance in our RCI demand bars. We already don't have any industrial demand as it is. This is fine, it just means we'll have to zone more residential in the beginning of next season to get things back into balance. Now, I would have liked to zone 4x4 industrial squares here to get the growable container lot, but without demand it'll never spawn, so instead I'll place the airport cargo train station. Running a train line out of here at this moment would be exorbitantly complicated. We can't cross the water here because of the bison habitat at Lake D-Dub. So we'd have to run along the roadway and then go out here, then tunnel through these hills until somehow we got all the way over here to the train connection on the other side of the map. Maybe someday I'll try that, but not today. This will just be for show, and I'll leave it turned off and put a warehouse here. Now, let's turn everything else on as we get ready to open the port of Xucaboa. Uh-oh, I see this node is causing vehicles to stop for some reason, so we'll just rework that in a new configuration. And it's all good now. Alright. Ay, caramba, I wish there was some way to stop that ship from sideswiping its stern, but I'm afraid that's just how it's gonna be. Now let's set up for the final fate of the video to the detailed port. Alright, let's take a look. Because I've got no industrial demand, I've used a few select commercial assets to fill in some zoning here, like this gas station. We got this laundromat over here. I'll probably switch these out for industrial assets when demand returns, but I did get the one single industrial tank here. Over here, I added the water reservoir tanks near the lighthouse, and I also moved the eco-advanced water treatment plants from Xucaboa over here and created this dock. A few more warehouses next to our recycling center, and this is our completed port. This is giving me some serious nostalgia for a bunch of different ports I've sailed into over my career. Even though this is limited by vanilla, I think it's as realistic as you can get for a small commercial seaport. Now it's time for the thank you, obrigado, gracias, and merci. Since the last round of naming, I've gotten over 100 new subscribers, and every subscriber gets a building in their name. Honor Roll members have gone above and beyond in being a part of the Xucaboa community, like Elta Plays, who wrote that they wanted the Roberts Bridge. However, it was a close tie for second place in claiming it, so Zidan Khan and Jimdad Lair will get the twin truss bridges here. Don't worry, y'all, I know it's been 2 months, but this has been foremost on my mind the whole time. Speaking of truss bridges, Cities Insane made a beautiful Xucaboa park in one of their videos, and so I'd like to name this the Cities Insane Twin Train Bridge Tunnels. Of course, we can't talk about truss bridges and interchanges without honoring Jemson and Mallet, both of whom named districts in their cities series in honor of Xucaboa. Jemson, please accept this triple train truss bridge, and Mallet, this remastered interchange. Over here in our new airport area, I've named the luxury hotel for Cities by Diana, because she nominated me to be the co-president of her Discord server. In front of it, Mr. Tesla Dude, the administrator of said server, gets this scenic entrance loop because honor roll bribery is what it took to secure that co-presidency. This road that leads up to the hotel is named for John A., who saw some of my screenshots in Facebook and told me he would be honored to have a street named for him, so here you go, John. Over here in Lake D-Dub, I've named this commercial high-rise the GOTS 45 Wine and Liquor HQ. GOTS 45 was one of my first subscribers who I thought might be a bot, but over a year later commented on the video and confirmed not a robot. GOTS had originally had this wine and liquor store on Chuquinia Avenue, and I made a community post about the epic comeback. In another community post, I wanted to see if anyone could remember that the building in this screenshot was the Ladies in the City HQ. No Mercy easily got the answer right, and so as a prize, No Mercy will get this high-rise down the block as his HQ. Great work, my friend. There are 2 more honor roll members to come, but let's start with the new citizen naming. Here in Beach Hill, we have the Nolan C. Beach Plantation, H72 Dagger Log Yard, GPC by Tim Maintenance Building, Rhine Sapling Fields, Ryan H. Firewatch Tower, 24 Frames Firehouse, Mr. Tivo 33 Lumber Processing, and you see I'm starting to name growable assets. Moving over here, we have the Michael B. Biomass Pellet Plant, Josh 64X Wood Chip Storage, Shanghai Kid 121 Sawdust Storage, Mocht RD Warehouse, masquerading as an adult Firewatch Tower, and the Hannah S. Paper Factory. In the town of Pickling, there were some unnamed things, so we'll go L. Demetrius 7 Goods Factory, Paula S. Water Tower, HT Ore Storage, Ben S. Ore Processing, KYBQ Ore Processing, Flaminator Sand Storage, SJ Workers Barracks, Cities by Diana Mineral Storage, Fabian H. Ore Workers Barracks, Roberto Z. Warehouse Yard, Norinco Warehouse Yard, Keith S. Ore Processing, Bragard Plays Ore Maintenance Building, Now, I'd almost forgotten to put these two buildings in the honor roll earlier. The Posh Mall will be named for New Build Cities, because he's named things in his city series for Xucaboa and always been a great supporter of the channel. And the Sneaker Factory will be the Larry Skylines Asset Factory. Larry's been making some awesome custom assets like these Xucaboa themed trucks here, available in the workshop. Let's carry on with naming with the Messenger of Rage B-Ball Court, Jim Dadlar Volleyball Court, Supreme Flagship Musashi Institute, Strange Kabuki Community School, Shoshada Post Office, Gaseous Stranger Road Maintenance Depot, Sam O.H. Public Library, Jabbergal Place City Skylines Tropical Garden, Freza YT Firehouse, Elta Place Police Station, Roba Electric Car Dealership, No Better Than Bob Gazebo, Ocean Man Goods Factory, Flyvox Taxi Depot, Kevin the Dog Dog Park, Alex B Cafe, BR Goods Factory, Spikethink Police Station, Parzaway Firehouse, Renee B Goods Factory, John Pine Goods Factory, and Kamira-chan Goods Factory. This factory here will be the Sean Goods Factory. And over in Isla Isaura, we have the David R Gazebo and the Luke S Goods Factory. In Farmington, we have the Alex P Grain Processing, Kalebi S Grain Processing, Deepu Deepu Grain Processing, and the Vincent B Farm Maintenance Building. Also the Perique Blend Goods Factory in the Fish Market District. In Hyas Harbor, we have the Robert D Goods Factory and the Michael C Goods Factory. In Green Hills, you'll find the Walter G Goods Factory. Our new metro in West Canal is the GT Bike 96 Metro Station. And here is the Richie W Firehouse. At the airport, we have the Taco Bean Bouldering Site, Jacob M Tennis Court, Attorney Lucio Viewing Deck, Shake Styles Air Traffic Control Tower, Giannis Sirogiannis Airport Metro Station, Andrew D Underground Parking, JC Aviation Fuel Station. At the lumberyard, we have the Blue Moon Lumber Processing. Over at the port of Xucaboa, you'll find the Gwyneth M1 Tank Reservoir, Auto Kilos Grain Silo, Jacob M Treatment Plant, Volgath Treatment Plant, Inhuman Torch Warehouse, Julio V Warehouse, Roman M Weather Radar, Heather Lemonade Factory, Joey C Glass Plant, Nitro Barracks, Mabirizi C Barracks, Pam Solo Shipyard, John Parker Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion Plant, Suniva S Sand Storage, Dragon 4992A Maintenance Building, Nick H Plastics Yard, Scartha Glass Yard, Michael J Metals Yard, Patrick Q Timber Yard, House Station Live Toll Booth, David J Warehouse, Paul B Road Maintenance Depot, Jack Daniels Prime Firehouse, Jeff I Port Authority Police, Old Shatterhand Container Dock, Mallet CNC Works Container Dock, Russell W Container Area, Kuhn MIV Fire Helo Depot, and Moke Helo Fuel Storage. And that, folks, is all the naming for today. If you've stuck around through all of this naming, let me tell you that you are the reason I absolutely love making these videos where we can enjoy the city together. To me, they're more than just shoutouts. All of you are a truly special part of the city, and I thank you so much for it. Remember that this save game file will be available on the Steam Workshop for free. All that's needed are all of the DLCs up until airports in order for the game to run. If you do check it out, I hope you enjoy exploring it. Feel free to do whatever you want and share the results in the City of Friends Discord server. I'll be gone a few months, but don't worry. I plan on continuing the city as soon as I return from sea. Keep an eye out for my Skyline 6 episode coming out in a few weeks too. While I'm away, this is a great time to catch up on any 100% Vanilla Baby videos that you've missed. All of you who watch the whole series will get something really special next season in the Hall of Champions. Thank you so much for being the best damn community online, and, as always, I'll see you next time.